let's talk about moving beyond potential. In my 9 to 5, I work in higher education, and I spend a lot of time working with students to figure out what is their passion and how they can do something with it. And one day after work, I realized I'm not doing anything with mine either. And I realized, you know what? I really need to bring art back into what it is that I do on a regular basis, right? And so I started doing that. I started drawing, I started painting, I started moving things, and it was going well for me. But then I got back into that same flow, right? After I had some success, it dropped out again. And so I really began to ask myself, after a couple meetings this past year, what is keeping me from going and maximizing this creative art thing and bringing it fully into my work and what I do, and infusing my passion with my day-to-day life. And I realized a part of it is I'm afraid. I'm afraid of what it looks like to move beyond just the potential. I could definitely keep creating and jump out on that limb, but I don't necessarily know what's going to come next. And I realize that's the same fear that my students have too. It's the fear of what's next. What will come if I try to put all this effort into something and I can't make the money that I need to make in order to sustain myself? I can't live the life that I'd like to live. I can't go back to my family and tell them, that I'm actually making it. And I realize that fear is what keeps us from moving beyond potential and into action. But it's so important for us to actually act and do, right? Because our potential is not enough. Potential is great in that it shows you what's possible. It shows you what you're potentially capable of, but you can never stretch that until you go ahead and you actually do it, until you build up the courage and the energy to move beyond and take something beyond just its potential and to actually bringing it to life. Something that really showed me that this past October was the Inktober challenge. And so at Inktober, they give you a prompt for every day of the month in October, and you're supposed to complete a drawing that follows whatever that prompt is. And what was awesome about that Inktober experience for me was that it didn't give me time to get caught up in what does it mean to make a good drawing, right? For me, a lot of times I'm always concerned like, oh, am I as good as this person? Will I be able to communicate this idea as best I would like to? And for some reason, during this challenge, Inktober just didn't allow me the time and the space to get in my own way. I didn't have to really worry about what it looked like. Some days I loved the image, and some days I was like, this isn't my best work. But at the end of the day, I realized I put out the concept. And I got better with time. I understood the materials I was using a little bit more each time. I understood how I wanted to potentially, communicate and reflect. I got to see a glimpse into my thought process, into creating art and what environments work best for me when I'm trying to create and when I'm trying to let that flow happen, right? So there was something that was positive about just going ahead and doing it. And I think for a lot of us, that's the thing. We need to realize that there's so much power in just doing. When you just go ahead and you commit to every day, even if it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, going ahead and working towards that goal that you have and exercising that passion, you get better. As opposed to saying, I gotta wait until I'm perfect, right, to go ahead and present that into the world. No, just go ahead and do it now. When you go ahead and create, when you do it now, you give yourself the opportunity to grow. You can't grow and change or adapt when you haven't put anything out into the world. And that's what's so awesome about the creative process. You create something, you make it, and then it exists. And in that existence, you're able to look at it and say, this is what I love and appreciate about it. And also, this is what I want to change. This is what I want to redo or attempt again. And what's even more beneficial is you still have that piece right there. So when you're making that second attempt, you have it sitting right there for you to judge off of, for you to base your changes off of, right? And we should apply that same lesson to everything in our life. First thing to do in order to move beyond the potential is to just go ahead and act. Then the next thing to do is to step back and take what you just created all in. Look at it from that bird's eye view, right? And then get close. Then the next thing you want to do is go ahead and adapt and make changes. And once you're done with that, you just keep that process going. You create, review, adapt. Peace.